Where'd you leave off?
5345.
Cool.
Or we still got to read that section. So
Start up paragraph. Whatever.
yeah, we should be live here. Go ahead and you start reading, and I'm gonna just listen to this live stream and just make sure we're both here.
All right,
Check one.
I'm gonna start up.
Mm.
A couple of sentences above. Welcome back. Lucifer Rebellion Part 3. The War in Heaven. Been having technical difficulties all morning learning this new live stream stuff, so I'm happy that you were able to stay with us and pick out the golden nuggets of information that lie within. I'm Debake the Wise, Deadrick Baker, ex Debake the Wise on Instagram, with my brother Taylor Young. Take Chula. I'm going to dive right back into it where we left off. From the Year Answer Book, paper 53, the Lucifer Rebellion. And if you haven't already subscribed, rub up against that subscribe button, make friends with it, take it to a dinner, something like that, but make sure you press it. Paper 55. 55, paper 53. 4-3. The entire administrative cabinet of Lucifer went over in a body and were sworn in publicly as the officers of the administration of the new head of the liberated worlds and systems. While there had been 2 previous rebellions in Nebadon, they were in distant constellations. Lucifer held that these insurrections were unsuccessful because the majority of the intelligences failed to follow their leaders. He contended that majorities rule, and that mind is infallible. The freedom allowed him by the universe rulers apparently sustained many of his nefarious contentions. He defied all of his superiors, yet they apparently took no note of his doings. He was given a free hand to prosecute his seductive plan without let or hindrance. All the merciful delays of justice Lucifer pointed to as evidence of the inability of the government of the Paradise Sons to stop the rebellion. He would openly defy and arrogantly challenge Michael, Emmanuel, and the Ancients of Days, and then point to the fact that no action ensued as positive evidence of the impotency of the universe and the super-universe governments. Gabriel was personally present throughout all these disloyal proceedings and only announced that he would, in due time, speak for Michael, and that all beings would be left free and unmolested in their choice, that the government of the sons for the Father desired only that loyalty and devotion which was voluntary, wholehearted, and sophistry-proof. So that goes to show you how much free will the super universe government gives you. They don't want to force you into the decision of doing the cosmic father's will. They don't want to force you into the decision of mind, body, spirit progress with everybody, no matter what section of the universe you're in. They're not going to, even if you make a incorrect free will decision, they're going to let you make that, because that's how much they respect free will. Free will is one of the most divine things in the cosmos. It's a direct gift from the Father, and it must be recognized, and it must not be abrogated. And I think Lucifer actually and his minions started to do that. They started to abrogate free wills. They started to distort free wills, which is, in my book, a cosmic sin. The biggest sin in the universe is to use your free will to hinder others' universe progress. Once you start doing that, you are now considered a negative entity. You're supposed to help others grow. But whatever. It's that whole service to self versus service to others that the law of one talks about.
Yeah, I do. I wonder, like, if Lucifer got anything out of this, like what exactly did he get out of it? Because at the start, if he thought he was implementing a better ascension scheme, but he also, I guess, didn't know the result, I don't know, of his new program. He couldn't have had, like, what was his plan for the souls that he was going to train up? Was he, if he didn't want them to go to paradise and do the finaliter career, what was he going to do with them, you know? So maybe,
Maybe
was
he
he serving
considered it
himself
was
in a weird way?
maybe he thought there was an unrevealed portion of the Father that could only be revealed through his
Hmm.
plan, that the universals were doing it wrong. But if he was right, then the universals and the Father would have to recognize that and say, your plan was right. We'll start implementing this. And I don't think that's the case for some
Hmm.
reason. Um, I don't know. It was funny. Like the other day, yesterday, I was with Magma. It's his girl's birthday, and we were having a good old time at this place called Main Event in Memphis, drinking, playing laser tag. It was sick. Um, and I look at him and I go, "Is it bad that I like the rebellion? Like, am I a bad person because like I like I like being in the places of rebellion?" And then Magma didn't say this, but his girl said this, and she's not really a big Urantia book reader, but she understands it by proxy, you know.
Hmm.
And she was like, "It's because you like having fun, and it's fun in the rebellious places." And I was like, I stopped and I looked at her and I was like, "That's secondary. Yes, I do like to have fun, but primarily speaking, I like being in the places where the kingdom isn't built because it gives you an opportunity to build the kingdom, you know? Like you can't build the kingdom where the kingdom's already built. And on top of that, you get to have a lot of fun." But
Well, it's more like being, you're more involved in the development process when it's a
yeah,
when it's a raw world, raw sphere. It's not that, because when you say, when you like the rebellion sphere, it's not that you like the principles of the rebellion,
no,
and
not at
the
all.
sort of the weird opportunities when there's no one, when there's no basis for like the law or like a true morality and anything
Yeah.
goes.
When there's no adults in the room.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see it. I think on these other planets they have just as much fun. Um, but I do think that the programs that we develop, um, when it comes to like the divine mystery and what it takes to like get gritty and like participate in that, it's like, we put out a harder SEAL Team 6 than the some of these other planets would when it
By
comes to like
far.
this searching for spiritual truth. Like actually, this is the reason why these mystic traditions and these like ancient traditions have like only been like word of mouth. Like they don't train everybody. They like keep it secret. It's not all written down. It's like passed on student to teacher, because it's like the truth burns out so quick here and it gets corrupted so fast that I don't know. It's like that's how they've had to do it for a while. I mean, Jesus did it like that too. He didn't write books down. He taught his disciples, and then he had his disciples teach people one on one. And even his disciples were following his lead and not writing anything. But eventually they were like, yeah, we better write some of this down to send out to the churches, etc. So it's like that's a program that like almost became required because of how crazy it gets down here. Jesus was like, I can't write anything down because this planet will distort it. It won't work out here, even though it could work on another planet like that's more stabilized, has more of a spiritual basis. This planet is like, no, we can't do it like that. So yeah, I don't know. That does, it creates a certain a set of circumstances and necessities, and that's what later calls us Agandanters. We have a different level of faith is required to operate here.
Yeah. And yeah, I was talking about that same with Magma last night. But yeah, it's not that I like the rebellion. I'm not over here like saying shout out to Lucifer for creating these circumstances. It just I like being able to be part of the team to help repair it, if that makes sense. And but what you're saying about this Agendanter status, what the Urantia calls people who can function in the cosmos without having to see the Father, people who they're rebellion tested. And I was talking with Magma about it. Like, can you really believe that? Like, can you perceive that? On a normal planet, there's angels from the beginning. Like when you're born and you wake up, you would see angels on your news. Caligastia staff would be here with Adam and Eve, with the Paradise Son, and they would all be one unit of government, administering to the planet. So from birth, you see angels. Angels are there. That's the norm. So from it, like, now put yourself in like an angelic point of view, and you're looking down on all the planets, and you're like, yep, this is the human was created to live in that type of environment with the angels on the planet. But on our planet, that didn't happen. Me and you have never seen an angel. We have never seen one. But yet we still came to this conclusion. Yet we still figured it out. We have never seen the Father. We've never seen the angel. So from angels up top, this must be the most mysterious phenomenon of all time. Like, look at these beings. They have never seen an angel, and they still came to this conclusion and figured it out. That's like pretty epic right there. And that doesn't get to happen at all in the cosmos.
That means
It's
like,
almost like phenomenal,
yeah,
literally.
Earth itself as a school for souls is a new type of, it's like a special type of lineage where
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's like a mystery experience because there's no direct evidence of like these beings. There's not even direct evidence that there's extraterrestrial beings.
exactly.
That's like super obscure as well. And it's like everything is so much more obscured here that the what it forces you to do is it means that you have to rely more on your personal individual connection with these spiritual intelligences through your mind connection. And when
Yeah,
that's all you have, you work harder to clean that link. Where if you say like you naturally have telepathy because the genetic strain was never modified
right.
and altered and lost that, say now you have like you're used to having telepathy, um, well, it kind of makes things easier in a way, but
Easy, yeah.
it may be, I don't know, your progress is maybe slower from that, but it's like, I don't know, the curve, I think of it in terms like a graph of a curve. The curve is different, but it's so we start out much harder, but once you cross the line, once you're spiritualized, once
It's like
you have your awakening,
90
then
degree
it's
angle.
like, yeah, it's, you know, because you have more of the mud of the BS to kind of climb out of, and you're much more skeptical, and I think self-evaluating, because there's no manager hovering above you. You learn you have to work alone, um, directly, with the spiritual forces. Um,
Gotta figure it
yeah.
out without seeing it, dude. That's fucking crazy.
Hmm.
It's pretty tight. But all right, plowing ahead. All the merciful delay. Did I read this? Yeah, I read that. Lucifer was permitted fully to establish and thoroughly to organize his rebel government before Gabriel made any effort to contest the right of secession or to counterwork the rebel propaganda. But the Constellation Fathers immediately confined the action of these disloyal personalities to the system of Satania. Nevertheless, this period of delay was a time of great trial and testing to the loyal beings of all Satania. All was chaotic for a few years, and there was great confusion on the mansion worlds. So I'm just seeing if I could actually, if I log into the studio, do I? Can you see chats and shit, or are you
Oh
looking
shoot,
at
I
it through
closed that.
OBS?
Oh, I have the chat up on my iPad, but I closed it in OBS. I forgot that I could view that. What am I looking for in OBS to see the chat?
It's like in the docs,
Tools, docs. Okay. Custom, stats, YouTube live control panel.
and then there's a chat one too. That was a little different. Yeah.
I think I gotta sign in here. Stats. Oh, oops. I think I gotta sign in here to you. But I mean, we're still live, so let's just keep reading here.
Keep going.
I do have the chat up on my iPad though. We only got 2 people. One of them's probably me.
No, nobody's chatting. I can look on my phone, actually. I just realized that. So you want to keep reading, or should I read?
Keep reading. I'm gonna sign in on OBS here to this YouTube stuff.
The nature of the conflict. Upon the outbreak of the Satania rebellion, Michael took counsel of his paradise brother, Emmanuel. Following this momentous conference, Michael announced that he would pursue the same policy which had characterized his dealings with similar upheavals in the past, an attitude of non-interference. That's a very important concept to understand, that the high celestial beings prefer a non-interference disposition. At the time of this rebellion and the 2 which preceded it, there was no absolute and personal sovereign authority in the universe of Nebadon. Michael ruled by divine right, as vicegerent of the Universal Father, but not yet in his own personal right. He had not completed his bestowal career. He had not yet been vested with all power in heaven and on earth. From the outbreak of rebellion to the day of his enthronement as sovereign ruler of Nebadon, Michael never interfered with the rebel forces of Lucifer. They were allowed to run a free course for almost 200,000 years of Urantia time. Christ Michael now has ample power and authority to deal promptly, even summarily, with such outbreaks of disloyalty, but we doubt that this sovereign authority would lead him to act differently if another such upheaval should occur. Since Michael elected to remain aloof from the actual warfare of the Lucifer rebellion, Gabriel called his personal staff together on Edentia, and in council with the Most Highs, elected to assume command of the loyal hosts of Satania. Michael ruled on Salvington while Gabriel proceeded to Jerusalem, and establishing himself on the sphere dedicated to the Father, the same universal Father whose personality Lucifer and Satan had questioned. In the presence of the foregathered hosts of loyal personalities, he displayed the banner of Michael, the material emblem of the Trinity government of all creation, the 3 azure blue concentric circles on a white background. That can be seen right here around me neck, on my necklace. The banner of Michael, also known as the Urantia symbol. The Lucifer emblem was a banner of white with 1 red circle in the center of which was a black solid circle appeared. So that red, white, and black theme, you see that in the Nazis, you see that in those are like the fascist colors throughout history. You just see like a lot of that type of fascism, neo-fascism, Nazism. The Klingons from Star Trek, they're the red, white, and black. So is the Empire from Star Wars. Just some fun associations there. There was war in heaven. Michael's commander and his angels fought against the dragon, Lucifer, Satan, and the apostate princes. And the dragon and his rebellious angels fought but prevailed not. This war in heaven was not a physical battle as such a conflict might be conceived on Urantia. In the early days of the struggle, Lucifer held forth continuously in the planetary amphitheater. Gabriel conducted an unceasing exposure of the rebel sophistries from his headquarters taken up near at hand. The various personalities present on the sphere who were in doubt as to their attitude would journey back and forth between these discussions until they arrived at a final decision. But this war in heaven was very terrible and very real. While displaying none of the barbarities so characteristic of physical warfare on the immature worlds, this conflict was far more deadly. Material life is in jeopardy in material combat, but the war in heaven was fought in terms of life eternal. Damn, so no space lasers. That's kind of crazy. So they just had like one headquarters right next to another headquarters, and they would both just like have amphitheaters and dissertations and allow all groups of celestial beings to come here and both talk. And they would just listen to them both talk and make a decision.
Hmm. Do you think this is the Orion belt, the Orion sector?
That's
Or
what I'm
do you,
trying to tell you. I've been saying that. This is the
yeah.
Orion's belt. And that's why when people, Orion has been associated with the negatives, but that's only, the Keys of Enoch says Lucifer set his headquarters right next to the
Mhm.
galactic threshold in Orion's belt, the
But
positives.
his
So there's
his
not positive
manifesto was
and
on
negative.
Jerusalem, I think,
Yeah.
right?
And
On
I
the Sea
believe
of
Jerusalem
Glass.
is the mansion worlds in
Yeah.
Orion's belt.
Oh, you think So Jerusalem is the capital of which part?
Local
The local
Satania.
universe?
Yeah.
Satania. Oh, the cap of our Satania sector.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that would make sense that Orion would be that. Then I was thinking that Jerusalem was higher up in the,
No, then there's Edentia and Salvington, which are 2 levels up.
and Uversa is the capital of Orvanton, right?
Yes, or Avanton.
Hmm.
And then Edentia is the capital of the constellation Norlashadek.
Mhm.
Salvington's the capital of Nebadon.
We just
And
got a
then,
couple more live viewers, so I don't know if we want to do a little tell them what's going on. We're reading about the Lucifer Rebellion, the true story of what happened with the war in heaven, from a mysterious revelatory text that we read a lot on this channel called the Urantia Book. So if you're coming in as a subscriber, you already know. If you don't know, this claims to have revelatory information about who exactly are these angelic beings, who are these extraterrestrial beings, non-human intelligence, and how did their decisions affect planet Earth? So,
hmm why, why are there different factions of ETs? What do they disagree on? And how did it come to be? Um, but yeah, it's gnarly. So I believe that's what the Orion group is from the Law of One. So, and the Keys of Enoch says the same thing, that the rebellion entities set up the shop right next to the positive threshold gate in order to
mm-hmm.
contend with them. So Orion would, I guess, house or be the headquarters for both the positive and the negative celestials.
Yeah, I think the only reason I was kind of wondering about that is that I wondered if the Orion ETs were just actually the physical rebellion planets, more
Mm,
rather than the angelic and mansion spheres that had the debate stage was sort of on. But I think it's also, I think you also have a lot of sources that say that we do actually, and some ancient cultures have an idea that also we're connected with Orion, in that that would be the location of the mansion spheres or Jerusalem. No, maybe.
yeah, Jerusalem. The mansion spheres revolve around Jerusalem.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Mm. The mansion worlds are the first 7 spheres that revolve around Jerusalem, the headquarters sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right. So numbers. We got any chats? No.
No,
Anybody
yeah, I
saying
do have
something?
I have the chat up on my screen, but the
Oh,
couple people that joined, it looks like left. Maybe we got one person. So
that's what's up. You want to read?
yep, for sure. All right, a loyal seraphic commander. Good boy. There were many noble and inspiring acts of devotion and loyalty which were performed by numerous personalities during the interim between the outbreak of hostilities and the arrival of the new system ruler and his staff. But the most thrilling of all these daring feats of devotion was the courageous conduct of Manosha, the second in command of the Satania headquarters Seraphim. At the outbreak of rebellion on Jerusalem, the head of the Seraphic host joined the Lucifer cause. This no
Damn.
doubt explains at the outbreak of the rebellion, the head of the seraphic hosts. Okay, so he got the top brass, Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Straight
they
up.
already trusted him, so they looked up to him, so it makes sense. Um, this no doubt explains why such a large number of the Fourth Order, the system administrator seraphim, went astray. The seraphic leader was spiritually blinded by the brilliant personality of Lucifer. His charming ways fascinated the lower order of celestial beings. They simply could not comprehend that it was possible for such a dazzling personality to go wrong. So Seraphim, Lananandek. Lananandeks are like, you think of, I don't know, the older brother who also is like, I don't know, somewhat, that's not a great example because on Earth, we're still all got the same DNA, but like these angels are like, they're different. They're just built different. They're Lananandek.
Yeah,
And the Seraphim look up
they're
to them.
super high up compared to Seraphim. Yeah, Seraphim
Mm.
are way lower on the chain of command on the scale of entities.
But the Seraphim work more on a personal level with us as well. So they're a little bit closer
Mhm.
to humanity, you could say.
Yeah. I guess they're the next order of angels. Like right after they were created, we were created.
Hmm. Okay. Not long since, in describing the experiences associated with the onset of the Lucifer Rebellion, Menosha said, "But my most exhilarating moment was the thrilling adventure connected with the Lucifer Rebellion when, as second seraphic commander, I refused to participate in the projected insult to Michael, and the powerful rebels sought my destruction by means of the liaison forces they had arranged. There was a tremendous upheaval on Jerusalem, but not a single loyal seraphim was harmed." Yeah, I wonder exactly how, even though they say it was a war
Like
of like words and ideas,
where he's saying like
there,
destruction
yeah,
and harm.
we have a couple extra Urantia book materials that say that there was actually some insurrectionist activities. One of them claims that the Living Universe archives, which it names the Acastia Obstinata Akashic records, it says that the rebels went and destroyed some of those record halls.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so like, why would they do that? So maybe there was some like a little bit of destruction of resources as they were trying to change up. Uh, because obviously, if they couldn't get everyone on board, there's still probably, I don't know, I guess celestial resources in the hands of different factions. The rebellious versus non-rebellious, and the rebellious people are like, we're gonna need that for our ascension, for the thing that we want to set up. We're gonna need that. So those people don't want to give it to us. They're not necessarily gonna fight us for it, but I don't know. If it seems like it still could have got kind of scrappy, but maybe I'm projecting a little too much on what exactly those celestial resources are. So
Mm. You're you're pulling from the millennial update. Now it's getting
yeah,
spicy for all the hardcore blue bickers that are watching this. I know you guys are like, yes, this is an extra Urantia book source in the expanded Urantia book universe. Um, I like that. I loved reading that part, and he even goes so far to say that like pretty much they did it like terrorist status, and they like eat a bunch of angels and killed a bunch of angels.
oh yeah,
I was like,
he
holy
says
shit.
some souls got annihilated in that process
Annihilated,
too.
yeah. They said like they use an annihilation nuke, or they pretty much what they turned the annihilation chambers into a bomb and blew them up, and all the souls got annihilated.
Yeah,
Uh,
something about like the same type, because when you're in this intermediary stage between above material but not fully spiritual, you're technically still at risk. Your energy form can still take some annihilating destruction.
mm,
That Marancha body is still a type of energy, and if that energy is like dispersed or like delocated, unraveled, your soul, it's like you no longer have anything to experience anything through, and that also that container for possibly like your memories and stuff, like your thought adjuster might be able to would be able to retain that stuff for you, but um I think there's still a potential for loss there.
yeah, and it gets gnarly. Just that story of yeah. So you can have a cosmic death. It's called annihilation per the Urantia book, where you just became as if you never were. That's how it says. So you just disappear. Um,
Yeah. Should keep reading.
I do want to riff off what you're talking about. How supposedly they broke into the Acacia Obstinata records of the universe. I always perceived that as they were trying to destroy records that were recorded of their own
Mm.
actions, if that makes sense. Like they wanted to They wanted to get the tapes of their dirty work, and you know how you gotta take the
Yeah, they
tapes when
wanted
you
to click
commit
pause on the
a
live stream while
yeah,
they did
exactly.
their own thing.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
gets gnarly. But yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, we'll definitely have to pull up, Millennium 3 eventually
Oh
and go
shit, that'd
through
be
that.
sick. Yeah, that'd be
You know.
sick. We get a lot of hate. Fucking minus 100 subs.
All right. Upon the default of my immediate superior, it devolved upon me to assume command of the angelic host of Jerusalem as the titular director of the confused seraphic affairs of the system. I was morally upheld by the Melchizedeks, ably assisted by the majority of the material sons, deserted by a tremendous group of my own order, but magnificently supported by the ascendant mortals on Jerusalem. That's so sweet.
Damn.
Yeah.
Second in command, he just kind of took over.
I mean, those mortals, be looking up to the angels, but they also got their own fire in them. They've been through the journey.
Yeah.
They've seen the tyrants on their planets, and they're not falling for it. Having been automatically thrown out of the constellation circuits by the secession of Lucifer, we were dependent on the loyalty of our intelligence corps, who forwarded calls for help to Edentia from the nearby system of Rantulia, and we found that the kingdom of order, the intellect of loyalty, and the spirit of truth were inherently triumphant over rebellion, self-assertion, and so-called personal liberty. We were able to carry on until the arrival of the new system sovereign, the worthy successor of Lucifer, and immediately thereafter I was assigned to the core of the Melchizedek receivership of Urantia, assuming jurisdiction
Damn.
over the loyal seraphic orders on the world of the traitorous Caligastia.
Damn, how badass. That's so sick.
That's why he's narrating in this book, because he
Mm-hmm.
got assigned to Earth, and
Yeah.
now he spent some time here. Caligaste, who had proclaimed his sphere a member of the newly projected system of liberated worlds and emancipated personalities, proposed in the infamous Declaration of Liberty issued by Lucifer in his call to the liberty-loving, free-thinking, and forward-looking intelligences of the misruled and maladministered worlds of Satania. This angel is still in service on Urantia, functioning as associate chief of Seraphim.
Damn.
Unfortunately, I think Earth would fall for this scam as well. This sounds like a pretty popular pitch of red team, blue team versus blue team, where where a new group is proposing themselves to be the liberators. I don't know. I think that happened. There's some parallels here to the way that new social groups and things rise up, and it's often sincere at the start, but then if the leaders can't really keep it together, if the leaders don't really have any necessarily moral basis, that's how you get new dictatorships as well. Every revolution has the opportunity to go sideways, and because what happens is that the leaders that rise up, they'll end up taking hold of the resources, and the groups rise out of dissatisfaction often. If you have an existing system of government, and out of dissatisfaction, a group will rise up and make suggestions, and if they can't change the system from the inside, then they'll start to become more revolutionary to the point where
Yeah.
eventually, if they gain enough momentum, it'll be like a takeover. But then once that happens, if you throw out too much of the old system, what it leaves is sort of void of disorganization where the political structure is deeply tied into the infrastructure of resource management. And on planets where there's scarcity, like the 3D planets where we need to manage resources or people will starve, that's a big problem. Now, in this case, on these spiritual worlds, I guess, they're not fighting, they don't have to fight over resources to survive, but they're still ruling systems and celestial circuits. This says that the constellation circuits, they had to rely on a messenger system to even contact Edentia. I don't know if that was because the quarantine was in effect, or
I
if
think so. That's when the quarantine went up and the reflectivity mechanism got
but
shut off.
they didn't even mention that yet in this paper.
No, it probably just happened the second he declared the Lucifer Declaration,
Mhm.
like his
Earlier,
entire
it said
section.
that Gabriel he went because he saw that it might get there, but it didn't say that they had installed those things yet. I wonder if the rebellious figures took over the comm system, which forced the normal some of the lower orders of angels to be like, oh, we had to come up and be creative with how we get our communications
I
across
could
because
see
the
that too.
standard system that makes sense. Because
I could see that too.
they're still working with time space energies, even though angels are a little bit definitely. I think that they would see time very differently, but they're still within the time space universes, and they still work with like Mirancha energy circuits. So there's still like communication uh, systems that I think are set up, and some beings can do that inherently. Some beings can travel faster than other beings when you're talking about overcoming the gravity limit and stuff. So it's
Yep.
yeah, it's fascinating to unravel.
Yeah, and something that like you made me think about was how you were talking about the group dynamics and factions, red versus blue, like tribe and that kind of stuff, or like attempting to rebel from the government, like to overthrow, you know, when that's like the same concept as, have you heard of the proletariat and the bourgeoisie? Like the bourgeoisie is the top class, the social class, and the proletariat would be the working class.
Hmm.
And the bourgeoisie are going to keep making all the money and taking advantage of the proletariat and eventually taking all the money and resources away so that the working class has nothing. And that's going to create a revolution, like in France, the French Revolution. They overthrow. And some famous writer, I forget who wrote it, somebody's going to put it in the comments, says that this is an ongoing
Cycle.
cycle that will keep happening until it perfects itself.
Hmm.
It's exactly what you were
Okay.
explaining. And what's
Yeah.
funny is that the Keys of Enoch says that this is actually this. He says, "As above, so below."
Oh.
He says that these concepts actually don't originate from planets; they originate from the stars. And he says that like how he talks about like conceptual thought forms being a reality in the universe. That when these high beings start thinking these thoughts and reverberating them throughout the cosmos, we start picking them up down here on the spheres, and they bring these thought patterns to our planet. Caligastia brought these thought patterns to our planet, and then it starts playing out on the material spheres just as if it was playing out up top, and that it actually starts from up top, so that like when Lucifer and Caligastia decided to rebel, we wouldn't have normally gotten to that state. And I guess those concepts usually don't get to that state on a normal planet either, because we have angels from the beginning administering to us. So it's that they don't naturally generate from the humans. We're like this, I think, because it generated first from the angels and it trickled down. And it eventually had to, the keys say, all those high angelic concepts eventually have to trickle down and play out on the faces of the spheres. And they get, he says, like, purified. I think he says the programs get purified on the face of the planets and recapitulated, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, he calls it like program Israel going to program Omega victory, something like that, where we
Whatever.
wrestle
In
with
all
God to the
in
point.
all the ways JJ Hertech words things.
Yeah,
Like that he's like that mystical Kabbalah. I don't know half the words he's saying, but
space Jew,
I get
space
the
Hebrew.
yeah.
He pretty much checks all those boxes.
It's unique though. I'm glad I have that in my tool belt because I've touched the Eastern, the Western, and then that also brings I'm thinking Eastern as in like Indian philosophy, the Vedas, the yogas. But I haven't even dived into the Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism, um, and he kind of, he brings that to the table. And I do agree that there's, the Western mindset has most recently been influenced by, I don't know, the Enlightenment, but like the Greeks with the reason and mathematics, Pythagoras, the Platonic solids, and our religion, it merges with that. It sort of it reflects that. Specifically in, people in religion in the West are very concerned about the apologetics of like the history of the text, how to verify that it hasn't been changed. They cross correlate all the different scrolls we have and be like, what was altered, what was not. And then they use that to kind of go out and say, this book is highly trustworthy. And that's like a valid science. Like, how do we pick apart how much this text has changed over the years? But then in the Eastern, it seems that they're much more about, I'm sure they have historians that do that as well, look at the oldest scrolls, but like the main yoga practice of mind, body, spirit is much more a personal experience. Maybe you could even call it like closer to like a Gnostic idea where instead of just relying on a theology or an intellectualism, you're supposed to experience, the oneness of creation or the oneness of all, and the inner divinity through, meditation and purifying the body. And so, to me, we need both of those things to kind of merge together. We need those mind, body, spirit practices, but it needs to be a mix of that intellectual theology and reasoning. But reasoning is only one part of our intelligence. It's not the end all be all. And that's where a lot of Western religion kind of lives in, is the reasoning of the mind, the intellectualism. But we kind of miss out on that, like the intuition, the meditation, the mental silence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like theory and practice, book smart versus field smart, but you need both.
Mm-hmm.
Integration. Should I pick up for you?
Mm-hmm.
How long have we been going so far?
This stream has been about 40 minutes for this part 3. So
Cool.
I'm
We'll
looking at
do
how
like
many
another
other
15,
sections we
20.
have. Yeah. I mean, if we did a little less commentary, we could probably finish it. We're on section, let's see, we got 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, and 9. So let's see if we can finish it in 20 minutes.
All right. Part 7, the history of the rebellion. The Lucifer rebellion was system-wide. 37 seceding planetary princes swung their world administrations largely to the side of the arch-rebel. Only on Panoptia did the planetary prince fail to carry his people with him. On this world, under the guidance of the Melchizedeks, the people rallied to the support of Michael. Eleonora, a young woman of that mortal realm, grasped the leadership of the human races, and not a single soul on that strife-torn world enlisted under the Lucifer banner. And ever since have these loyal Panoptians served on the Seventh Jerusalem transition world as the caretakers and builders on the Father's sphere and its surrounding 7 detention worlds. The Panoptians not only act as the literal custodians of these worlds, but they also execute the personal orders of Michael for the embellishment of these spheres for some future unknown use. They do this work as they tarry en route to Edentia. Damn, that's pretty sick. So that entire population has like a special assignment for after they ascend and die. They get to go like be caretakers of certain mansion worlds on their way out. And that's sick.
Yeah. They became the secret. I'm thinking of like the palace servants who like do the daily work, but there's like a secret order within the palace servants, and it's the Panoptians, and they're actually they look very humble and unassuming, but they're actually like managing the workings behind the workings.
Yeah, that's badass. That's sick.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eleanor. Throughout this period, Caligastia was advocating the cause of Lucifer on Urantia. The Melchizedeks ably opposed the apostate planetary prince, but the sophistries of unbridled liberty and the delusions of self-assertion had every opportunity for deceiving the primitive peoples of a young and undeveloped world. All secession propaganda had to be carried on by personal effort because the broadcast service and all other avenues of interplanetary communication were suspended by the action of the system circuit supervisors. Upon the actual outbreak of the insurrection, the entire system of Satania was isolated in both the Constellation and the Universe circuits. During this time, all incoming and outgoing messages were dispatched by seraphic agents and solitary messengers. The circuits to the fallen worlds were also cut off, so that Lucifer cannot utilize this avenue for the furtherance of his nefarious scheme. And these circuits will not be restored so long as the arch-rebel lives within the confines of Satania. That's pretty gnarly. So the rebels were probably using those networks for weird reasons, and the higher-ups were like, we're cutting them off. Like, no more.
Also sounds like the planetary angels for the rebellion spheres, they could no longer communicate with the other rebellion planets, or
Yeah,
or
any
even
other
other
planets.
governments. Yeah, it was just it became
Yeah,
much harder because again, you can either use an existing wireless circuit, a consciousness network, or you can use a being like a gravity messenger, I think, solitary
solitary
messenger,
messenger.
who can actually travel like 3 times the light speed, so they can actually get that message across real quick.
I think it was
um
like 40 million times the light speed.
oh, 40 million. Oh, you're right, that was a crazy number.
Yeah,
um yeah, because they can sort of bypass gravity.
yeah, but that's gnarly. Yeah, now you got to run messages instead of
Yeah.
send text messages. Yeah,
Well, what's crazy is that I think when people think of the spiritual worlds and angels, they kind of just assume all that is like instantaneous or like magic, but like
like telepathic.
those
Yeah,
are still technical systems that actually are limited by gravity. I think gravity is the main kind of limiter there, where you still have to use some type of energy
yeah. There's
to
still
traverse
inertia in a
space to
spiritual
get your
realm.
message through. And there's all types of circuits that can be sort of managed and cut off by different beings. And yeah, so there's so many, there's, it's just order. It's order. There's order to all of creation, even the spiritual side.
Spirit science.
Mm.
What, Lenondic Nye, the science guy. This was a Lenondic rebellion. The higher orders of local universe some shit did not join the Lucifer secession, although a few of the life carriers stationed on the rebel planets were somewhat influenced by the rebellion of the disloyal princes. None of the Trinitized sons went astray. The Melchizedeks, archangels, and the brilliant evening stars were all loyal to Michael, and with Gabriel, valiantly contended for the Father's will and the Son's rule. No beings of paradise origin were involved in disloyalty. Together with the solitary messengers, they took up headquarters on the world of the Spirit and remained under the leadership of the faithful of days of Edentia. None of the conciliators apostatized, nor did a single one of the celestial recorders go astray. But a heavy toll was taken on the Morancha companions and the mansion world teachers. Of the supreme order of seraphim, not an angel was lost, but a considerable group of the next order, the superior, were deceived and ensnared. Likewise, a few of the third or supervisor order of the angels were misled. But the terrible breakdown came in the fourth group, the administrator angels, those seraphim who are normally assigned to the duties of the system capitals. Menosha saved almost 2/3 of them, but slightly over 1/3 followed their chief into the rebel ranks. 1/3 of all of the Jerusalem cherubim attached to the administrator angels were lost with their disloyal seraphim. Of the planetary angelic helpers, those assigned to the material sons, about 1/3 were deceived, and almost 10% of the transition ministers were ensnared. In symbol, John saw this when he wrote of the great red dragon, saying, "And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven and cast them down into darkness." The greatest loss occurred in the angelic ranks, but most of the lower orders of intelligence were involved in disloyalty. of the 681,217 material sons, Adam and Eve's, lost in Satania, 95% were casualties of the Lucifer rebellion. Large numbers of Midway creatures were lost on those individual planets whose planetary princes joined with the Lucifer cause. Dude, 95% of the Adam and Eve's in Satania went over to the rebellion.
That's crazy.
That's
Is that the right way to see the number? So the greatest loss of the lost in Satania, 95% were casualties of the Lucifer rebellion. So this is of the like 700,000 material sons lost in Satania, 95% were. What does that mean about the other 5%? Does it actually mean 95% material sons rebelled and then 5% didn't? It doesn't seem
yeah.
that doesn't seem
That's
completely.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm perceiving it right now. Yeah.
I'm seeing it differently where there's 700,000 rebellious material sons, and 95% of them rebelled because of the Lucifer rebellion. 5% were some other rebellion. I don't. Was there another rebellion? No, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, there's two other, but
Oh, there was
I'm just
two
thinking of
in
that paragraph.
Satania though.
Not in Satania, no. I think they're outside elsewhere.
So
Oh,
maybe 5% of the material sons were lost at some other point in time due to another rebellion. I don't think that it's saying that 95% of all the material sons in Satania were got caught in the rebellion.
you're right. It is worded weird now that it's saying like lost in Satania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that number is only the
Greatest.
lost ones, the rebelled ones, unless they mean dead ones. It's still a
Well,
crazy
either way,
number because
there's
now
Adam
this
and Eve's that one. Yeah.
I feel like this gets into like for the viewers out there, material sons, these are actually like they actually have physicality. Like we could they also have procreation. They procreate and have kids like we do. Um and so I'm just trying to think like this is almost like a space opera, a whole big space opera because they seed civilizations, the material sons and
Mm.
daughters. So it's like what did they do when the rebellion happened? What did those material sons and daughters, what did they spend their time doing? Were they like doing a bunch of genetic programs like across a bunch of spheres? I feel like there's an untold
Yeah.
story in there.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a very interesting story. Um, and to tie it into the Urantia book and the Billy Meyer, um, I've always had a personal, for some reason, I thought that Simyase from the Urantia book is one of these rebel uh, material daughters.
Mm. Oh yeah. So some of the ETs that have been influencing Earth they might actually not be like the spiritual interdimensional kind of side. It might be the material sons and daughters who are kind of on that
Hmm.
free for all.
And that's why they look all beautiful and
Yeah.
Nordic Palladian.
Hmm. We got
But yeah.
RC Smith commented, didn't choose to ascend question mark. Didn't choose to ascend. Are you talking about I'm not sure exactly what they're talking
Oh,
about.
he's saying that maybe the 95% of them, maybe only 5% were rehabilitated.
95% were casualties.
So out of that 681,000, only 5% were rehabilitated and chose to ascend, quote unquote, went back into
That
the
doesn't
ascension
that
circuits.
doesn't make sense to me at all. It clear to me it's clearly saying 700,000 were lost, and I can assume that they're lost means
Yeah, what does
in a
lost mean?
rebellion.
Or
Yeah,
could
what
it
does
mean
lost
just
mean?
like severed from the circuits, stranded?
Oh, in that case, that number then wouldn't be the amount that rebelled. It would just be the ones that got cut off, maybe.
Yeah, the 681,000 would be the ones that were cut off and stranded due to the
The
cutting off of the
5%
circuits.
RC The 5% lost in Satania didn't choose the Paradise career. I don't think it was 5% that were lost, though. Of the 700,000 lost, 95% were casualties of the Lucifer Rebellion, which means 5%.
Oh, 5% didn't. They remained loyal to the rebellion. So I think they're referring to the 95%. They were casualties, but they came back.
Yeah, I can't really figure it out.
Okay, so
It
let's say
doesn't seem
like of the 700,000 that were all lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who were confused at that time. 95% were confused that they came back, but the other 5%.
Yeah, but it doesn't say they came back. That's where it's like reading
Well,
into it.
yeah, I mean, we are reading into it. What would be the difference between the 95 and the 5? Existence or rebellion? Like, what's the determining factor? Are we talking about annihilation here? Or are we talking about rehabilitation? Or are we talking about
Well, it doesn't
whatever?
say anything about rehabilitation. It's just talking about the ones that are lost. So that's why I don't think we can read in what, I don't think they even have enough info for us to read in what they're,
So what were the other 5%
yeah.
casualties of or not casualties of?
Yeah, were the other 5% casualties that were lost?
Forever or
Or
not
was it
casualties at
not,
all?
or was it ones that weren't lost? This sort of,
Yeah.
so I don't know. We can keep reading. We're kind of extending the, yeah, we're beating the dead horse. We gotta ask the angels.
I'll go fucking ask my crystals that are charging in the moon later tonight.
Hmm. Yeah, let's keep going.
Is it me?
Uh,
Right? Yeah, I was reading.
yeah, go
In
ahead.
many respects, this rebellion was the most widespread and disastrous of all such occurrences in Nebadon. More personalities were involved in this insurrection than both of others. And it is to their everlasting dishonor that the emissaries of Lucifer and Satan spared not the infant training schools on the finaliter cultural planet, but rather sought to corrupt these developing minds in mercy salvaged from the evolutionary worlds.
That does actually
Damn.
explain the previous paragraph. I think it does.
What?
Because in this paragraph we just read, it says, uh, in many respects, this rebellion was the most widespread and disastrous. That's why it took 95. So of the 700,000 material sons lost in Satania to the couple different rebellions that happened, the most
Yeah.
disastrous one was the Lucifer one, and it took that was 95% of those rebelled material sons and daughters. So it is
So
talking about the different
95% of the
rebellions,
total material
rebellions.
sons were due to the Lucifer rebellion.
No, not 95% of the total, or yeah, 95% of all material sons lost to all
In all
rebellions.
3 rebellions,
Mm-hmm.
95% of them were
Were
from the
to
Lucifer
Lucifer,
rebellion.
which shows that the Lucifer rebellion was the most widespread and disastrous.
Okay. Yeah.
It always kind of
That's
explains it
still
in
a
the
good
next
amount of
one.
number. Yeah.
We always,
That's still a pretty fat amount of number though. You can imagine it being a good amount of Adams and Eves.
yep.
And that just confuses it even more for us because if we meet him, we're going to be like, oh, you're an Adam and Eve. Now you got to be sketchy when you meet an Adam and Eve. What's your fucking name again? Oh, all right. And they did not spare the infant training schools. They went for the babies too. It's
Dang.
crazy. The ascending mortals were vulnerable, but they withstood the sophistries of the rebellion better than the lower spirits. While many on the lower mansion worlds, those who had not attained final fusion with their adjusters, fell, it is recorded to the glory of the wisdom of the ascension scheme that not a single member of the Satania Ascendant citizenship resident on Jerusalem participated in the Lucifer rebellion. That's pretty gnarly. So none of the Ascendant pilgrims. Because we're smarter than that. We come from those evolutionary planets. We're not that dumb, you know. And that's what I was talking about, like these concepts of overthrowing, like we were talking about before, they are playing down on your ranch on a rebellion sphere. I literally think evolutionary immortals on a non-rebellious sphere, they can't even fathom, they can't even perceive the social dynamics and overthrowing and why people would do that. They wouldn't get it. They would just be like naive little kids. Big wait, so what? Why? Wait, what?
Yeah, the
There's
ascenders
rich
were
people that
like,
take the
"Oh, this
food
is your
from
first
you?
rebellion, isn't it?"
Yeah, yeah,
As
exactly.
in the ascenders saw this type of thing on their home planet because the
Yes.
it's sort of extrapolated and it happens more often because the evolution down here is faster,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, and the angels are
things
kind of way
change
more naive.
quicker than in the spiritual worlds, which are sort of like they move slower because they're like established and they're managing universes. So
But yeah. Hour by hour, day by day, the broadcast stations of all Nebadon were thronged by the anxious watchers of every imaginable class of celestial intelligence who intently perused the bulletins of the Satania rebellion, and rejoiced as the reports continuously narrated the unswerving loyalty of the ascending mortals, under their Melchizedek leadership, successfully withstood the combined and protracted efforts of all the subtle evil forces which so swiftly gathered around the banners of secession and sin. So that's pretty cool to think about. Like, there's an entire cosmic broadcast system, an entire universe, like news, media
it's a
network, and every.
bulletin, like you walk into the church service and they hand you the bulletin, but we know it's like some holographic.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
probably
way
cosmic social
cooler.
media.
Cosmic social media.
you know, probably you wake up and you're looking at, oh shit,
They got
a
that
rebellion.
Neuralink, that Mirancha link.
Shut up. I hate Neuralink so much, but yeah, uh, but it's not in your brain; it's outside your brain. Um, all right, I think that Neuralink is fucking demonic shit, dog. I don't like it. Not a
Dude,
fan.
it look, cell phones, it's the same thing as a cell phone. It just has more potential to be used for better
But
or
it's
worse. It's the same
outside or
same deal.
inside your body.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's outside or
I don't want
inside.
it inside
Look,
my
you're
body.
already being manipulated through your cell phone and the data practices that you subscribe to.
Yeah, but the materials aren't like festering in my body.
Yeah, but the
The plastic could stay outside.
Neuralink, it's gonna be common and it's gonna be fine. And
The mark of the beast.
in
I'm just kidding.
a
All right,
100 years,
whatever.
they're
Going
gonna
off track.
rename it to something called Link. That's gonna be the final brand when it becomes a consumer product. My source for this actually is a astral projector who went to the future and saw this reality.
Oh, well, well, there it is,
It
baby.
was compelling. He said they installed them at birth, actually, because
Well, that
it
makes
was
sense.
it was an integrated system into all of society. Just the way that digital systems are so integrated now. So uh, instead of getting cell phones, we just get Neuralinks installed as children, and yeah, we're just connected. We're in the network.
Sounds fun. Sign me up, baby.
Yeah.
Fucking blast me to hell. Um, okay. The Matrix, baby. I'll be Neo. I'll wake up. I know Kung Fu. Um, it was over 2 years of system time from the beginning of the war in heaven until the installation of Lucifer's successor. But at last, the new sovereign came, landing on the Sea of Glass with his staff. I was among the reserves mobilized on Edentia by Gabriel, and I well remember the first message of Lanaforge to the Constellation Father of Norlashadek. It read, not a single Jerusalem citizen was lost. Every ascendant mortal survived the fiery trial and emerged from the crucial test triumphant and altogether victorious. And on Salvington, Eversa, and Paradise went this message of assurance that the survival experience of mortal ascension is the greatest security against rebellion and the surest safeguard against sin. This noble Jerusalem band of faithful mortals numbered just 187,432,811. That's not a lot, dude. Holy shit.
That's all of them. That's the
That's
total
the
number that
that's
were
the
on
total number of
Jerusalem.
ascending mortals.
That
What
were
the
on
fuck?
Jerusalem at that time.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're on the Mansion Worlds, they're not counting them because Jerusalem is after the Mansion Worlds. So after you get to 7, so at that's an interesting number though. because that could be
That's a
that's like an
tiny number.
average number. It's like an average statistic for like how many people,
All the planets
how many ascendant souls are on Jerusalem at one time
at one time. Yeah, it is.
studying.
I think it'd be so much more.
You're
Holy
right,
shit,
that is
that's cool.
low. I've always had this thing that they kind of downplay how difficult the ascension career is. And I've thought of this because
Me too.
the
I think I've
staff,
thought
when
that.
it said that the staff who volunteered to incarnate on Earth, they were Jerusalem citizens who still hadn't fused with their adjuster. So
Mm-hmm.
they needed
Yeah.
more experience and context to like really get there. And they volunteered for a mission that was going to be like 100,000
Hard.
years and
Yeah.
difficult. And so to me, that suggests that it is much harder to fuse with the adjuster than you think.
Yeah. I agree. And if you remember the Myths of Verde, well, I don't know. I keep quoting it like we've all read it, but I've read it from front to back. And you might have read that paper too, where it says like, it says it intimate, it says it straight up like the universe ascension career is really hard, and like not a lot of souls have what it takes to make the very far race.
Mm.
Like it's a very long race, they said, and like you need a lot of like uh initial acceleration, inertia, and stamina to get to the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a gnarly ascent. It's not easy,
Yeah.
and you can give up at any time. I'm gonna pee real quick, and then let's wrap it up in like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Should I just continue reading?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. All right. With the arrival of Lanaforge, the arch rebels were dethroned and shorn of all governing powers. Though they were permitted to freely go about Jerusalem, the Marantia spheres, and even the individual inhabited worlds, they continued their deceptive and seductive efforts to confuse and mislead the minds of men and angels. But as concerned their work on the administrative mount on Jerusalem, their place was found no more. I think when they do a quote like that, that might be they might be referencing a biblical reference that kind of that hints at that. So, while Lucifer was deprived of all administrative authority in Satania, there then existed no local universe power nor tribunal which could detain or destroy this wicked rebellion. At that time, Michael was not a sovereign ruler. The Ancient of Days sustained the Constellation Fathers in their seizure of the system government, but they have never handed down any subsequent decisions in the many appeals still pending with regard to the present status and future disposition of Lucifer, Satan, and their associates. Thus were these arch rebels allowed to roam the entire system to seek further penetration for their doctrines of discontent and self-assertion. But in almost 200,000 Urantia years, they have been unable to deceive another world. No Satania worlds have been lost since the fall of the 37, not even those younger worlds peopled since that day of rebellion. And Adrian from the H said, Sea of Glass, described like this in many texts. Adrian, if you have these other texts, we'd love to look at. If you have mentioned, we obviously know that the Sea of Glass is mentioned in the Bible, but if you got some other texts that it's mentioned in, we'll check it out for sure. All right, so section
He's in the
8.
Discord, so join the Discord if you want to communicate with us. The link
Okay.
is
Book
in
of
our
Enoch.
description.
That'd be interesting to see the term Sea of Glass in the Book of Enoch, because the Book of Enoch was something that they had. The Sea of Glass, to my understanding, is only mentioned in Revelation, and the Book of Enoch was before. That was even like, I think they might have even known about. Let's see, some in the New Testament, the Book of Enoch is referenced as a text that they sort of knew about and had read and was in the culture, but I'm not sure what the kind of source is. Okay. The Son of Man on Urantia. Lucifer and Satan freely roamed the Satania system until the completion of the bestowal mission of Michael on Urantia. They were last on your world together during the time of their combined assault upon the Son of Man, which would have been that would have culminated at the Mount Hermon encounter. Formerly, when the planetary princes, the sons of God, were periodically assembled, Satan came also, claiming that he represented all of the isolated worlds of the fallen planetary princes, but he has not been accorded such liberty on Jerusalem since Michael's terminal bestowal. Subsequent to their effort to corrupt Michael when in the bestowal flesh, all sympathy for Lucifer and Satan has perished throughout all Satania, that is, outside the isolated worlds of sin. The bestowal of Michael terminated the Lucifer rebellion in all Satania, aside from the planets of the apostate planetary princes. And this was the significance of Jesus' personal experience. Just before his death in the flesh, when he one day exclaimed to his disciples, "And I beheld Satan fall as lightning from the heaven," he had come with Lucifer to Urantia for the last crucial struggle. Oh, interesting. I've heard that phraseology before, falling like lightning from the heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
feel
from the
like,
Bible.
yeah, but that's I don't think Jesus is quoted as saying that in the New Testament. So I wonder if one of the other apostles wrote that or something. I don't know. But I guess Jesus had like a mental vision of the arrival
From
of
Luke
Satan and
10:8.
Lucifer. What does it say? Read it.
So, and Luke 10:8, exactly what you read. I beheld Satan fall as lightning from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. And that was supposedly, yeah, Jesus speaking.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because he knew he was, kind of conquering, becoming the planetary prince. So RC said, in the book of Enoch, a sea of glass is described in chapter 14, where angels take Enoch to the first heaven and place him on the clouds. Enoch sees a great sea that is larger than the earthly sea. Dope. We're definitely going to read the book of Enoch. I guess there's 3 of them. There's one Enoch and 2 Enoch and 3 Enoch. But we're definitely going to read those on the Forbidden Scrolls podcast, because to me, the Book of Enoch is like the clearest representation of the times of the rebellious staff. I think it's just the way that he describes these beings, these sons of God. You know, I think he says Azazel taught the art of war and weapons, and he explains how these different characters like teach man how to do things. And it's like, oh, that's weird. Would an angel be able to do that? Well, it's not actually an angel. It's the incarnated staff, and in that context, it actually starts to make a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, your ancient book also does say that Jesus did not think that the Book of Enoch was written by Enoch himself, but it doesn't mean it's not an account that gives some insight into those times. The 200 watcher may have been the 100 staff and their Andonite associates. Yeah, that's another parallel. D-Bake, have you made that connection? I guess there's 200 watchers in the Book of Enoch, and
The Watchers.
yeah,
Yep. The
and
200. Yeah,
the
the
staff
staff
and
and
their
the assistants.
Andonites. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. That's like a clear. There's even, we were looking at in our Anunnaki episode.
Yep.
We got some numbers from some of those source texts. I still need to verify that those
Yeah, it doesn't
numbers.
say 100 exactly on the Sumerian text. It
Mm,
just says the prince, the sky prince, and the prince's staff.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was just equating that to the 100 staff in the Urantia book.
Okay, yeah, and that's Billy Carson's translations. Yeah, I want to try and double check all that stuff and link it up, but we'll need another episode for that.
Let's crank through this. I'm hungry. I need to go eat.
Yeah. Where are we at here? The last crucial. The Son of Man. Thanks, Adrian. I'll check it out in Discord then. The Son of Man was confident of success, and he knew that his triumph on your world would forever settle the status of his age-long enemies, not only in Satania, but also in the other 2 systems where sin had entered. There was survival for mortals and security for angels when your master, in reply to the Lucifer proposals, calmly and with divine assurance replied, "Get you behind me, Satan." That was in principle the real end of the Lucifer rebellion. True, the Uversa tribunals have not yet rendered the executive decision regarding the appeal of Gabriel praying for the destruction of the rebels. But such a decree will no doubt be forthcoming in the fullness of time, since the first step in the hearing in this case has already been taken. Ooh. Gabriel was praying for the destruction of the rebels. They didn't do that early on, but it says that such a decree will no doubt be forthcoming in the fullness of time. Yeah, well, we do have an extra Urantia book source that claims that both Lucifer and Satan have already been annihilated, which is a big claim, but this kind of here kind of says that that would be inevitable if they didn't sort of secede to their wrongdoings. Caligastia was recognized by the Son of Man as the technical prince of Urantia up to near the time of his death. Said Jesus, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast down." And then, still near the completion of his life work, he announced, "The prince of this world is judged." And it is this same dethroned and discredited prince who was once termed God of Urantia. The last act of Michael before leaving Urantia was to offer mercy to Caligastia and Dalagastia, but they spurned his tender pro-offer. Caligastia, your apostate planetary prince, is still free on Urantia to prosecute his nefarious designs, but he has absolutely no power to enter the minds of men, neither can he draw near to their souls to tempt or corrupt them unless they really desire to be cursed with his wicked presence. Before the bestowal of Michael, these rulers of darkness sought to maintain their authority on Urantia, and they persistently withstood the minor and subordinate celestial personalities. But since the day of Pentecost, this traitorous Caligastia and his equally contemptible associate, Dalagastia, are servile before the divine majesty of the paradise thought adjusters and the protective spirit of truth, the spirit of Michael, which has been poured out upon all flesh. But even so, no fallen spirit ever did have the power to invade the minds or to harass the souls of the children of God. Neither Satan nor Caligastia could ever touch or approach the faith sons of God. Faith is an effective armor against sin and iniquity. It is true, he who is born of God keeps himself, and the wicked one touches him not. In general, when weak and dissolute mortals are supposed to be under the influence of devils and demons, they are merely being dominated by their own inherent and debased tendencies, being led away by their own natural propensities. The devil has been given a great deal of credit for evil which does not belong to him. Caligastia has been comparatively impotent since the cross of Christ. That's a fire quote, that ending quote, because I have a personal quandary with the way that we assign responsibility to evil. And obviously, you get in the Pentecostal church and they're like everything evil is the devil. It's the devil, the devil. Even modern Christianity, the sort of way that people think is that every like evil thought that they have, there's actually like some demon trying to influence them, where it's like, no, like you're not that important that like there needs to be a devil whispering over your shoulder to like introduce that thought to you. Those thoughts exist in the sort of in the world that we live in, and they're more expounded upon by humans. We don't even need to like involve, non-human invisible spiritual entities that the only way to validate that is through extrasensory consciousness experiences, which still are loose for absolute proof and more of a personal thing. But yeah, I like that. I just like that verse. It points out, stop blaming things on the devil and take some responsibility for your own mind. You need to clean that. There's no devil on your shoulder. It's just you. You wanna read the last 9 here?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Kill it.
9. Present status of the rebellion. Early in the people. Cool. All right. Number 9, present status of the rebellion. Early in the days of the Lucifer rebellion, salvation was offered to all rebels by Michael. To all who would show proof of sincere repentance, he offered, upon his attainment of complete universe sovereignty, forgiveness and reinstatement in some form of universe service. None of the leaders accepted this merciful proffer, but thousands of angels and lower orders of celestial beings, including hundreds of the material sons and daughters, accepted the mercy proclaimed by the Panoptians and were given rehabilitation at the time of Jesus' insurrection. At the time of Jesus' resurrection, 1900 years ago. These beings have since been transferred to the Father's world of Jerusalem, where they must be held, technically, until the Uversa courts hand down a decision in the matter of Gabriel versus Lucifer. But no one doubts that, when the annihilation verdict is issued, these repentant and salvaged personalities will be exempt from the decree of extinction. These probationary souls now labor with the Panoptians in the work of caring for the Father's world. The arch-deceiver has never been on Urantia since the days when he sought to turn back Michael from the purpose to complete the bestowal and to establish himself finally and securely as the unqualified ruler of Nebadon. Upon Michael's becoming the settled and head of the universe of Nebadon, Lucifer was taken into custody by the agents of Uversa, Ancient of Days, and has since been a prisoner on satellite number 1 of the Father's group of the transition spheres of Jerusalem. And here the rulers of other worlds and systems behold the end of the unfaithful sovereign of Satania. Paul knew of the status of these rebellious leaders following Michael's bestowal, for he wrote of Caligastia's chiefs as spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. Michael, upon assuming the supreme sovereignty of Nebadon, petitioned the Ancient of Days for authority to intern all personalities concerned in the Lucifer rebellion, pending the rulings of the super-universe tribunals in the case of Gabriel versus Lucifer, placed on the records of Uversa's Supreme Court almost 200,000 years ago, as you reckon time. Concerning the System Capital Group, the Ancients of Days granted the Michael petition with but a single exception. Satan was allowed to make periodic visits to the apostate princes on the fallen worlds until another son of God should be accepted by such apostate worlds, or until such time as the courts of Uversa should begin the adjudication of the case of Gabriel versus Lucifer. Satan could come to Urantia because you had no son of standing and residence, neither planetary prince nor material son. Macaventa Melchizedek has since been proclaimed vicegerent planetary prince of Urantia, and the opening of the case of Gabriel versus Lucifer has signalized the inauguration of temporary planetary regimes on all of the isolated worlds. It is true that Satan did periodically visit Caligastia and others of the fallen princes right up to the time of the presentation of these revelations. Isn't that crazy? So Satan was on planet in the 1930s.
Just Satan, though,
Pretty
because
crazy.
it says that
'Cause
Lucifer was on
was
the
locked up.
locked up.
Yeah.
So I think that would be earlier we read that Revelation link where the deceiver would be locked up for 1,000 years. That would be it. Michael, upon Michael's completion of his incarnation mission, that Lucifer then got locked up on the prisoner ward. Satan was limited, but he could still do some travel. But that would be the
Bound for an age.
bound for an age. Yeah, that
And now
already
he's
happened.
unqualified, detained on the Jerusalem prisons field. The next sentence, it says that right there. You see it?
But yeah, that was him being bound for an age.
That was, I agree with you on that one. That would be his bounding.
And then maybe
From
I don't
Jesus
know.
until now.
I don't know if this says anything about. I don't think this comments on Revelation. John said they would be unbound. Like after that 1,000 years, then they would kind of be free for a bit, and then the final battle. That kind of sounds like, though, it kind of sounds like the adjudication of the final court decision. So it's like after, like, they're bound, you're in prison for a while, but then as other things work themselves out, you have the final adjudication of the court case, and so they he's out of prison for that, and maybe has a little more freedom. Maybe
If he
even
doesn't
it's
get
like,
annihilated.
yeah, or maybe even it's like, look, it's your last mercy decision, or you can make your last pitch to your rebellious fears. Like, see if you can convince them now that that X amount of years has passed, since Michael's bestowal on this planet. Is like, do you think your message still holds up? We're gonna let you free for a little bit.
Damn, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, I don't
To
know.
make him
That's just
realize it didn't
interesting.
work.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, but it's pretty gnarly to think about that Satan was on planet Earth in the early 1900s, 1930s, 1920s, right up until
Well,
the time of the
you mean because
revelation.
he could freely go between the rebellion planets?
Yeah, Satan did periodically visit Caligastia and others of the fallen princes right up until the presentation of these
Yeah.
revelations.
Well, yeah, we have some extra materials that talk about that. Interestingly
Well,
enough.
isn't that like when the gray sightings started ramping up and shit? Um,
Oh, you got um I mean, people correlate that to the atomic stuff.
atomic era. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to just throw shade on the Greys and try and say that they're like Lucifer's kids or something.
You're you're a gray lover. You're a gray sympathist. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I just like talking shit. But okay. When there occurred the first hearing of Gabriel's plea for the annihilation of the arch rebels, Satan is now unqualifiedly detained on the Jerusalem prison worlds. Since Michael's final bestowal, no one in all Satania has desired to go to the prison worlds to minister to the interned rebels, and no more beings have been won to the deceiver's cause. For 1900 years, the status has been unchanged. It's probably because how they tried to treat Jesus during
Yeah.
the 40 days.
Kind of revealed
Um,
their true heart.
and everybody's like, "Oh, we can't fuck
It's
with these
like
guys."
it's like the scammiest thing they could have done, because everyone knows
Yeah,
that Jesus is like their dad in our
yeah.
local universe, and they're like, you did that while he was incarnated and almost like he was
In the
limited
lowest
in the
form. Yeah,
lowest form. Like, you tried to go and catfish him,
yeah,
get
exactly.
him with the
Yeah,
honey pot.
yeah, yeah. It was super lame. Um, so yeah, I guess after that, no one else fucking came to go see him. We do not look for the removal of the present Satania restrictions until the Ancient of Days make final disposition to the arch rebels. The system circuits will not be reinstated so long as Lucifer lives. Meantime, he is wholly inactive. The rebellion has ended on Jerusalem. It ends on the fallen worlds as fast as the divine sons arrive. Well, we're waiting for him. Okay. We believe that all rebels who will ever accept mercy have done so. We await the flashing broadcast that will deprive these traitors of personality existence. Damn, that's a harsh warmongering sentence right there. We await the flashing broadcast that will deprive these traitors of personality existence. Sounds so angelic. We anticipate the verdict of Uversa will be announced by the executionary broadcast, which will effect the annihilation of these interned rebels. Then will you look for their places, but they shall not be found. And they who know you among the worlds will be astonished at you. You have been a terror, but never shall you be any more. And thus shall all of these unworthy traitors become as though they had not been. All await the Uversa decree. But for ages, the seven prison worlds of spiritual darkness and Satania have constituted a solemn warning to all Nebadon, eloquently and effectively proclaiming the great truth that the way of the transgressor is hard, that within every sin is concealed the seed of its own destruction, that the wages of sin is death. Presented by Manovandent Melchizedek, one time attached to the receivership of Urantia.
Forgot it gave other Melchizedek names.
Yeah, me too. I forgot about that too.
Yeah, because we got some new ones of Manson Lauren.
Man Saint Laurent. Yeah, and yeah, that's cool. What is it? And the other one,
Yeesh.
I forget.
Um,
But yeah, that's kind of gnarly. They end it with 3 Bible quotes right there. The way of the
yeah, right.
transgressor is hard.
This
Yeah,
is
it's
this would
fucking.
be. I think there's nothing too heretical in this in terms of Christian theology. I actually think we should just distribute this paper alone and just see what happens. You know, just
The truth behind the
hand
Lucifer
him out
rebellion.
to be like, hey, you want to know what happened with the angelic war in heaven? Here you go. That's what this podcast is for. But I'm just looking through the last kind of comments here. So R.C. Smith mentioned the confrontation at Mount Hermon. Yep, that's in the Urantia book. That's mentioned in the Bible. It's a mystery that is revealed in the Urantia book, even better. The Book of Enoch, the leader of the fallen angels, was bound for 70 generations. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't take every little factoid in the Book of Enoch as like absolute, but it at least is trying to say something about the rebels and how they were managed. And so, yeah, bound for 70 generations. Azazel, I've heard that name. That's in the. Yeah, I've heard that. I've read that in the Book of Enoch before. Azazel. I don't know if they
Yeah, they
use
give a
that
couple
name
names.
in
They give
Urantia,
like a
but
couple different cryptic rebel
yeah.
angel names in the Book of Enoch. Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of like Beelzebub, that kind of name style and stuff. The old,
Mhm.
I guess it's from Aramaic, translated to English, and we know there's a variety of beings it could be. But yeah,
Abaddon.
that's it. That's the Lucifer rebellion. We actually got a couple viewers, 12 viewers had joined in here over the last half hour as we finished out that paper.
That's cool. Welcome, welcome. We got through that entire paper today. Wow.
Yeah,
Sunday
that was
live
like
streams.
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, a lot of technical difficulties, but we figured out all the bugs and the gremlins, so it'll be a lot smoother next time. We're probably gonna start doing live streams
Yeah.
more often. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed interacting with you guys. It was really cool reading this together. It was almost like we were doing that. Um, if you ain't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. I don't know if you're a new viewer. I'm sure everybody watching is already subscribed. We have shirts coming out soon, so stay tuned. We got some official Legacy shirts coming out. I'll let you guys know about that when they drop. The Lucifer Rebellion. Goddamn. Why are all these damn ETs showing up in my fucking sky? You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? This whole UAP thing. I hope it gives us some type of a conceptual framework on who these different factions of ETs are, who they align with, what are their agendas, what are their motives, what are their backgrounds. Maybe they were ex. They used to be lined up with the rebellion, and now they're good guys, but they're still kind of have some sketchy tendencies when they're trying to get better.
Why
Just
did Anna Paulina Luna, a congresswoman, post a
why
photo of
of
the Orion
Orion?
constellation?
I saw that and I was like,
Yeah.
she knows, and
Yeah.
she's legit. She's like that's crazy, dude. Cryptic hasn't even answered about a
Cryptic.
why.
My
Yeah.
best guess is that she's aware of the Law of One. That's the biggest proponent that talks about the Orion group, and I also do think that in the Intel community around the UAP stuff, they're obviously super aware of the Law of One. It's one of the best non-human contacts recorded. It reveals stuff about UFOs that is like super secret. It gives a number. They had 70 UFOs that were back engineered, and it told us that in the 70s or something whenever it came out. So yeah, anyway, tangent, UAP tangent, but keep your eye on the skies. We've been watching out for these orbs and these drones because we think it might be connected with some larger events. But we're gonna keep a sharp mind, keep the analysis on point, and just enjoy the show. So we'll
Yeah,
see what
R.C. Smith
happens.
got that last comment in there saying, "Have the life circuits been restored to Urantia?" Um, we have to remember that this book was given to us in 1933, so it's kind of old. A lot. It's almost been 100 years, so a lot has changed since then. It is totally possible that we're not saying we're fully out of quarantine, but some steps have been made in the adjudication to start opening up some circuits. Not just full open up, but I believe, yeah, the quarantine is getting reduced step by step, baby steps.
Yep. And
Um,
I just realized there's a follow up paper that maybe we'll do another episode on. It's basically and it's like, so we just got the event analysis of the Lucifer Rebellion, and then they have a paper after it, which is the sort of the effect analysis,
Yeah.
an angelic breakdown of the problems of the Lucifer Rebellion. So some valuable wisdom there, or you can, read it
Yeah.
on your own.
Yeah, the consequences and the problems of the Lucifer Rebellion. It's good. We'll go over that too. So keep an eye out for that. But thanks for tuning in, people. Happy Sunday. Sunday fun day. Remember the Lord, remember Christ. Remember that you have angels around you at all times, and remember that you have a divine spark within you. Thank you for listening to this podcast, but this podcast should remind you of that spark within you. You don't need us. We're just going to help you with it, but what's going to really take it from here is your own divine spark. So follow that thing. Remember your angelic team. And we'll see you soon. Got anything else for him? You can end the stream when you want. You're
Sounds
in
good.
charge.
Yep. I'm gonna end the stream now, and thanks Ponce for getting some all caps apocryphal quotes in. So I'm not entirely sure what you're saying, but it
We do
seems,
enjoy the
yeah, we do enjoy
energy.
the interactions. So the law. What exactly is the law of one? The law of one is sort of a
We got 2
chain of.
videos on it.
Yeah, we got 2 videos, and they cross compare it with the Year Entry book, because the Law of One actually mentions the Year Entry book,
Mentions the
and
year entry book.
some
Yeah.
people think, I think people misinterpret it most of the time on what it's actually saying. So, Adrian, I'm not going to explain it now, because check out our other videos. We got 2 videos on the
Yeah.
Law of One, and they're awesome. So that'll get you caught up to speed on what's going on there. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks,
It's
everyone.
been Debate Eyes. That's Taylor Swift. We'll see you later.